When 34-year-old Clara Bennett heard a knock on her apartment door at 2:13 a.m., she thought it was a mistake. Instead, she found a frightened 8-year-old boy standing barefoot in the rain, clutching a torn backpack. His name was Liam Carter, and he had nowhere else to go. Clara knew Liam's mother, Sophie. They weren't close friends, but they had worked together years earlier at a small diner. Sophie had always been proud, stubborn, and fiercely protective of her son. But life had not been kind to her. Medical bills, debt, and a failing heart had left her exhausted. 3 days earlier, Sophie had been admitted to the hospital. That night, she never came home. Liam had been staying with a neighbor, but after a violent argument, he ran away. In his backpack was one note, written in Sophie's trembling handwriting. "If anything happens to me, find Clara. She once told me no child should ever feel abandoned." Clara read the note twice. She lived alone. She worked long hours as a librarian. She had no children and no experience raising one. But when she looked into Liam's terrified eyes, she saw something she recognized: the fear of being unwanted. Clara had spent her own childhood moving through foster homes, learning how to pack her life into a single suitcase. She knew exactly what it felt like to wonder if anyone would ever choose you. So she opened the door wider and said 5 words Liam would never forget. "You can stay as long as you need." At first, Liam barely spoke. He hid food under his pillow. He slept with his shoes on. And every morning he asked the same question: "Do I have to leave today?" Clara's heart broke each time. "No," she would say. "Not today." Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Clara helped Liam with homework, packed his lunches, and sat through his nightmares. She learned that he loved astronomy, hated peas, and still believed his mother might walk through the door. Then came the hardest day of all: Sophie's funeral. Liam stood frozen beside the casket, unable to cry. On the way home, he whispered, "What happens to me now?" Clara pulled the car to the side of the road. She turned to him and said, her voice shaking, "If you want, you can stay forever." Liam stared at her. Forever. Forever. For the first time, he cried.
And so did she.
The adoption process took nearly a year. There were interviews, home inspections, and endless paperwork. Some officials questioned whether a single woman could raise a grieving child. Clara never hesitated. "He doesn't need perfection," she said. "He needs someone who won't leave." On the day the judge finalized the adoption, Liam held Clara's hand and asked if he could say something. The courtroom fell silent. Liam looked up at her and said, "I lost one mother, but life gave me another." There was not a dry eye in the room. Years passed. Clara worked extra shifts to afford Liam's dream of attending a science academy. She skipped vacations, sold her grandmother's jewelry, and stayed up late sewing patches onto his worn school blazer. Liam never knew how much she sacrificed. To him, she was simply Mom, the woman who never missed a school play, the woman who waited with hot chocolate after every exam, the woman who sat beside him through every heartbreak and every victory. At 17, Liam was accepted into one of the country's top engineering universities. At the graduation ceremony, he was chosen to give the valedictorian speech. Hundreds of parents filled the auditorium. Liam stepped to the podium and unfolded a small, weathered piece of paper, the same note his mother had left in his backpack. He held it up and said, "My first mother gave me life, but this note led me to the woman who taught me how to live." He turned toward Clara, seated in the front row. "People say blood makes a family, but that isn't true. Love does. And the greatest gift anyone ever gave me was choosing me." Clara covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. The entire audience rose to their feet. 10 years later, Liam returned to the neighborhood where his story began, not as a lost child, but as the founder of a national charity for orphaned and abandoned children. Its name was simple: Chosen Home. Above the entrance hung a bronze plaque with these words, dedicated to Clara Bennett, who proved that family is built by the heart. At the opening ceremony, reporters asked Clara how she felt. She smiled through tears and said, "I didn't rescue him. He rescued me." Liam walked over, wrapped his arms around her, and whispered the same question he used to ask every morning. "Do I have to leave today?" Clara kissed his forehead. "Not today," she said. "Not ever."